Welcome to the deep dive. Can you feel it? That electric atmosphere at Wimbledon's third round?
Oh, yeah. Every match feels like it could have a surprising twist.
Definitely. And today we're diving into something pretty interesting. What makes a tennis expert confidently pick a player as a value bet?
Right, that situation where they think the player's actual chances are better than what the odds suggest.
Exactly. Even when maybe common sense or the basic numbers point somewhere else.
Well, what's fascinating here is how we're going to try and look beyond just the surface stats.
Okay.
Our mission today is really to dissect the specific predictions for the WTA Wimbledon third round. These come from tennis expert Kane Webb in his July 3rd article.
Right. The one titled WTA Wimbledon Best Bets, including Mertens versus Svitolina.
That's the one. We're going to unpack his thinking, look at the data points he uses, head-to-head seasonal form.
But also the less obvious stuff like grass court experience or recent momentum.
Precisely. Those factors that really underpin a confident prediction, especially when it goes against the grain. The idea is you'll get some real insight into how experts analyze these things, spot potential upsets, or find those undervalued opportunities.
Okay, let's unpack this then. I'm excited to jump into the matchups. Where do we start?
Let's start with a really interesting one. Solana Sierra versus Christina Bucha.
Ah, okay. Now here's a puzzle, right? They're ranked practically side by side. Sierra's 101, Boots is 102.
Mm-hmm.
But their head-to-head record is 0-0. They've never played each other. Seems odd given how close their rankings are.
It is a bit surprising, yeah. Now, Christina Bucha, despite that ranking, she's considered a seasoned veteran at Wimbledon.
Okay.
This is actually her 5th time playing there.
Wow, 5th appearance. Has she had much success?
Well, that's the thing. She's never actually made it past the second round. Her overall record for 2025 is dead even, 1919.
And she hasn't gone deep in tournaments this year either?
The round of 16 is the furthest she's gotten in any event. But, and this is important, her recent form has ticked up. She's 4-2 in her last 6 matches. It seems like she started finding her rhythm just before Wimbledon kicked off.
Okay, finding form at the right time. And what about Solana Sierra? Younger player.
Younger, yes. And this is only her 2nd Wimbledon appearance, but don't let that fool you.
Oh.
She's had a really impressive 2025 overall. Her record is strong, 33-12.
33-12, that's significant.
It is, and that includes winning 3 lower-level tournaments. Her recent form is also good, 4-2 in her last 6, just like Bussa, but even better over the last 10, where she's 7-3.
So Sierra has a much better overall record this year, strong recent form. Why wouldn't she be the clear favorite here? Why would Webb pick against her?
Right, and here's where it gets really interesting. Despite all that, Webb's value bet is actually on Bussa winning. The odds he quotes are around 1.82.
So he sees value there, thinks her chances are better than the odds imply.
Exactly, and his main reason. It boils down to Bussa's vastly more experience, specifically on grass, and specifically at Wimbledon.
Ah, the surface and the venue.
Yes. He argues that this deep well of experience, even without deep runs previously, is what will ultimately, quote, separate Bussa from Sierra.
So the takeaway is that for an expert like Webb, that specific high-level experience on Wimbledon grass can outweigh a generally better win-loss record for the year, especially in a big tournament setting.
It seems so. It suggests those hard-won lessons from playing there before, even in losses, give you some kind of edge, an intangible one maybe.
Makes sense. Okay, let's move to the next matchup. This one sounds interesting too. Diane Parry, the French player, against Sonia Kartal from Great Britain. Now, the source mentions their head-to-head is 0-2, but then it also says they will meet for the first time here at Wimbledon. How does that work?
Yeah, that can be a bit confusing. Sometimes H2H records count certain types of matches, maybe qualifiers or lower-level events, or perhaps it's an error in the source. But let's focus on the players for now. Sonia Kartal. The feeling is, and the betting markets often reflect this, that she's the favorite.
Okay, the home player, maybe some expectation there.
Possibly. She did reach the 3rd round here last year, which is decent, but 2025 hasn't been stellar for her. Webb calls it a round of 16 rut.
Meaning she keeps getting knocked out at that stage?
Yeah, that's the furthest she's progressed in any tournament. Her grass record this season is okay, 4-3, but she hasn't actually won more than 1 match in a row in any tournament since way back in March.
That's not great momentum. And Diane Parry, what's her story?
Well, Perry's had what the author terms an awful year overall. Her record is just 13-13.
Pretty mediocre.
But she did have 1 quarterfinal appearance this year, and it was recent, on June 13th. She also has some past Wimbledon success, reaching the 3rd round back in 2022.
Okay, so some positive signs there.
And here's the real kicker for Webb's analysis. Perry is having a fantastic year on grass. Her record on the surface is 7-2.
7-2 on grass compared to 13-13 overall. That's a huge difference.
It really is, and that's why Webb completely disagrees with Cartol being the favorite.
So he's going against the grain again. What's the bet?
His value bet is on Perry winning, with odds around 2.61. That's a pretty strong underdog pick.
And the logic is purely based on the grass performance.
Pretty much. He's saying her strong grass court form is the deciding factor. He contrasts that sharply with Cartol, who he argues seems absolutely lost on grass right now, despite maybe being seen as the better player generally.
Wow.
And that recent quarterfinal Perry made in June just adds a bit more weight to the idea that her grass game is her saving grace this season.
So Webb's basically saying, forget the year-long stats, just look at the grass court magic. It really shows how experts can zoom in on surface specifics, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It's about finding that niche performance, that specific strength the wider market might be missing because they're looking at the bigger, maybe bleaker picture.
Fascinating stuff. Okay, that leads us perfectly into our final match, and this one sounds like a big one. Elise Mertens versus Elina Svitolina.
Oh yeah, this is a proper rivalry. They know each other's games very well.
The source calls it robust. This will be their 9th meeting overall.
9th overall, yes. And their 3rd time facing off at a major tournament.
Have they played at Wimbledon before?
They have, back in 2023, and also at the Australian Open in 2018. And get this, their very last match was just last week.
Really? Where?
At the tournament in Bad Homburg. Svitolina won that one in straight sets.
Wow, talk about recent history. What about their form more generally?
Well, in terms of recent matches, they're actually identical. Both are 7-3 in their last 10, so both are clearly playing well right now.
Okay, neck and neck recent. What about Mertens specific?
For Mertens, yeah, she's playing well. The article points out that if you take away her losses to Svitolina, her last defeat would have been way back on May 27th.
So Svitolina seems to be a particular hurdle for...
It appears so. Mertens is definitely performing well, but Webb notes she hasn't quite had the same broad success this year compared to Svitolina.
And Svitolina, the article sounds very high on her form.
Extremely high. Webb states she's playing as well as anyone in the world right now.
Strong words. What backs that up?
Her consistency. That loss at Bad Homburg last week, that was the first time since WTA Miami way back in March, April, that she failed to reach at least the quarterfinals of a tournament she played in.
That's incredible consistency.
It really is. She's made the quarters or better in half of her tournaments this year, 6 out of 12 events.
Okay, so connecting this all together, Svitolina's amazing form, the recent win over Mertens, what's the bet?
Unsurprisingly, Webb's value bet is on Svitolina winning. The odds are around 1.71, so she's the clear favorite in his eyes.
And the reason?
It rests heavily on 2 things. 1, her current exceptional form, playing arguably the best tennis on tour right now. And 2, crucially, her lead in their head-to-head rivalry. She leads Mertens 5-3 overall.
Suggesting she has Mertens' number, as the saying goes.
Exactly. Webb implies that combination peak current form plus a historical edge in the rivalry makes a very compelling case for Svitolina, even though Mertens is also playing quite well.
It really shows how that head-to-head history, especially when combined with red-hot form, can be such a powerful factor in these predictions.
Definitely. It's not just about who is playing well now, but also who has historically had the edge in this specific matchup dynamic.
What a fascinating deep dive into the real nuances of tennis predictions. It's clear expert analysis goes way beyond just looking at rankings or simple win-loss records.
We've seen how things like specific surface skill, momentum on that particular court, even the history between two players, all play massive roles.
And we explored that idea of a value bet, where the expert sees something the general odds might be missing based on digging into these, more subtle factors.
Right. And understanding how experts reason things out in sports, it can definitely help you think about how you evaluate predictions or assessments in other parts of your life too.
How so?
Well, it's about looking past just the headline numbers, isn't it? Digging into the context, finding those less obvious factors that really drive an outcome. Could be a tennis match, could be a business decision.
That's a great point. It's about understanding the why behind the prediction. So for you, our listener, maybe here's something to chew on. In this age where we have just endless data flying around, how much does that human intuition, that deep grasp of the context, still matter when making the sharpest prediction, especially when the numbers alone might seem to tell a different story?
A good question to pose.
Thanks for joining us on the Deep Dive.